Hi all, welcome to my YouTube channel. On this channel, I'm currently running shell scripting tutorial which will be a comprehensive guide from beginner to advanced. In today's session, we will be discussing about introduction to shell scripting. Before heading on to shell scripting, we need to know some basic understanding of Linux architecture diagram. So Linux architecture diagram consisting of four major components which is hardware, kernel, shell and utilities. So hardware is a main core component of an Linux, which consisting of an hardware components such as hard disks, CPU, RAM, and other hardware related stuffs. So kernel is a major component of a Linux distribution which has complete control over hardware systems. So in order to control the activities of an hardware, kernel plays a prominent role to control hardware components. So shell. So shell is a program which provides an user interface for an user as well as operating system. So in order to handle the operating system on any of the virtual machines, so you need a shell. So shell provides an user interface for an user in order to interact with the operating system. And finally, utilities. So utilities is nothing but an applications which will be hosting on respective operating system running on a respective virtual machines. So this is some basic understanding of Linux architecture diagram. So this is a fundamental thing which need to be known before understanding shell scripting. So now let us understand what is kernel. So kernel is a main core component of an Linux which controls the activity of hardware components in operating system. So kernel plays some prominent role in order to control the activities of an hardware components in operating system. So there are four different types of kernels, majorly monolithic, micro, exo and hybrid kernels. So these are the few different types of kernels which differs for different Linux distribution operating system. So I don't want to describe all the four kernels in detail. I just want to give you a rough overview what are different types of kernels. Now let us move to shell. So what is shell? So shell is a program which provides an user interface for an user in order to interact with an operating system. Now let us understand the types of shell. So in the shells we have 6 types of shells, majorly secure shell, warn against shell, C shell, cron shell, friendly interactive shell and Z shell. So these are the major shells which will be available in the shells for different operating system. Now it's time to check which is the type of shell we are currently using. So the command which is used to check the type of shell is echo $shell. So now let us try to check the type of shell we are currently using on our Linux operating system. So here I'm currently using Ubuntu machine with the help of WSL Windows Subsystem Linux. So now let us check which is the type of shell currently an Ubuntu Linux distribution is using. The command is echo $shell. So my current shell is bash, which is born again shell, which is a type of shell I'm currently using on my Ubuntu. Now let us understand what is shell scripting. Shell can take commands as an input from a file and can execute them in shell to avoid the repetitive tasks. Hence, these files are called as shell scripts or shell programs. So, as I said, shell is a program which provides an user interface between an user and an operating system. So, shell can take commands as an input. So, it can be taken as a single line commands or an input from a file. And we can execute them in a shell to avoid our repetitive tasks. So, the major advantage of using shell scripting is used to automate the repetitive task. Hence, this can be done or this can be achieved with the help of shell scripting, where you can incorporate your commands in a single file and can execute them in a shell. Hence, these files are called as shell scripts or shell programs. Now, shell script is saved with .sh file extension. So, as per the definition, you are about to create a file in order to store the comments of a shell, but it need to be understood by an interpreter saying that this file is a shell script. In order to make interpreter to understand it, we can store shell script file with .sh extension so that the interpreter will understand it as a shell script file. So for an example, we have myscript.sh. Here myscript is a file name and .sh is a file extension The following file will be understood by an interpreter saying that this file is an shell script file. So that's the advantages of using file extensions for respective program. For example, in Python, we use .py as an extension for an Python files. So whenever you create some file, you use to add a file name .py so that the interpreter will understand, okay, this is the Python file. And .sh means it is a shell script file. So that's it about introduction to shell scripting. And if you like my video, please kindly share and subscribe.